Okay, welcome back to another episode of Third and 23. I'm your host, Alex, here to bring you another college football pick and prediction video. In this video, I got two games on for you for my week 3 picks. I will have some other videos as well for week 3. But in this video, we're talking Texas A&M, Notre Dame, Clemson, Georgia Tech. As you can see, 5-5 ATS. Had a 3-1 weekend last weekend. Hopefully looking to build on that and get over 500 for the season. So let's go ahead and get into it. Kicking it off with Texas A&M visiting Notre Dame. This is a rematch from last year when Notre Dame went to College Station and won 23-13. But keep in mind, the quarterback in that game was Connor Wegman. If you've heard in my Colorado Houston video, I'm not the biggest Connor Wegman guy. So this is going to be a completely different looking offense for Texas A&M, right? Now we look at the Aggies in this one. They're led by Marcel Reed, dual threat quarterback. He's been efficient so far this season. One of the questions I had for him coming from last year is he going to improve on his passing? And then they lost their best receiver to the transfer portal. So I thought, maybe gonna run into some issues there. But so far so good. 7 touchdowns, 8.2 YPA. They brought in two receivers from the portal, smaller guys in Mario Craver and Casey Concepcion, but they're combining for 381 yards. Smaller, quick guys with speed, and you're seeing that now. Utah, they went against Utah State. They went against Texas San Antonio, UTSA. So it really didn't go against anybody, but they did what they had to do. Dropped 40 burgers on both of them. The offense passing game is looking efficient, looking good, looking explosive. Marcel Reed's quarterback rating versus zone this season is 142, and that's a key thing to note in this game. Offensively, also, they have running backs. They got a three-headed monster with Le'Veon Moss, Amari Daniels, and Ruben Owens, but they kind of looking a little phased out so far early in the season. Marcel Reed is leading the team in rush attempts and rushing yards this season. I usually don't like that when you got a dual threat. Sometimes they forget to incorporate the running backs into the offense, and that can give you a limit on how good your offense can be. But so far, so good for them. Notre Dame defensively, we only got one game to go off of this game. Oh, I forgot to mention Notre Dame, by the way, in this game is coming in as a 6.5-point favorite. That line really hasn't moved. It did jump to 7.5 at one point, but it's back down to 6.5. Notre Dame's defense this season, well, only off the Hurricane game against Miami. Carson Beck against Notre Dame's zone in that game completed 100% of his passes. So I say that to say Marcel Reed's going to cook it against zone. Obviously, a different kind of opponent. But Notre Dame didn't have anything for Carson Beck. And I'm not a big Carson Beck guy. Didn't have anything for Carson Beck. And Notre Dame has supposed to be Leonard Moore, the best cornerback in the country, and some other great secondary pieces. They couldn't slow down that Miami passing game. They also only had 2 TFLs in the opener. So the front 7, which, let Marcus Freeman, great defensive mind, they had to replace some guys in the front 7, yes, but you had some pieces coming back from last year. You thought they would be a little more active, a little more aggressive in the front 7. 2 TFLs against Miami in that opener. 18% pressure rate. They weren't really getting pressure on Carson Beck and getting picked apart. In their zone defense was getting picked apart. So not a good showing, not a good look for Notre Dame in the opener. But again, it's week 1. Sometimes week 1 you got to take with a grain of salt. Teams don't have a preseason. Teams got to feel each other out, see what they look like and make adjustments off of that. Moving on to the Texas A&M defense versus the Notre Dame offense. So the Aggies defensively, again, they haven't played anybody. UTSA, Utah State. One thing to note, though, against UTSA, they allowed 203 yards rushing in the opener. Now, there was a home run ball in there for 75. I think they went 75 yards. But still, that would be concerning, right? But again, I'll say, week 1. Week 2 against Utah State, they only allowed 2.2 yards per carry. So maybe some things got figured out. Maybe UTSA has a good running game. Against Utah State, they allowed 2.2 yards rushing, and they had 6 sacks. So now that front 7, which has talent, led by Cassius Howe, seemed to have adjusted, right? Worked on some things from week 1, go to week 2, and now started to look like that Texas A&M defense. Texas A&M has a veteran defense. They got great players in the back end, great players up front. As I said, Cassius Howe up front, Torian York at linebacker. Will Lee is one of the better cornerbacks in the country in what is a loaded secondary. And it's looked like that so far this season. 4.7 YPA versus the starting quarterbacks that they face this season. So defensively, I think Texas A&M, outside of that home run ball they gave up in the opener. Defensively, they're kind of looking as advertised, as what I expected them to look like, as what I expect the Mike Elko defense to look like. Notre Dame, offensively, wasn't good against Miami. Now, when I did that game, I said Miami's strengths are their edge rushers. They got two guys who can definitely rush the passer, but I didn't think the advantage would be so far in Miami's favor in that game. They destroyed that offensive line. Both offensive tackles for Notre Dame got roughed up in that game. CJ Carr, and that led to CJ Carr being pressured on 35% of his passes. Basically, a third of the time he dropped back, he was under pressure. 155 yards passing. I know you look at his box score, you say, oh, he had more than that. He had a 65-yard pass play off of a busted coverage by Miami. You don't often get that, right? So I'm not going to give you credit for something that really had nothing to do with as far as the offense goes. Then you talk with the running game. You talk Bryce Love. Bryce Love was the best running back in the country. I thought it too. He has 0 broken tackles against Miami. 10 carries for 33 yards. Nothing was working. CJ Carr, redshirt freshman quarterback. His average depth of target, so that give you an idea if is he going downfield. Man, it was 4.3 versus Miami, and that's with that 65-yard bomb off the blown coverage. Wasn't anything going for Notre Dame offensively in this one. They lose by 3. It felt like they lost by 17 though. So now, who do I think is going to win this game? How do I think this game is going to play out? First, when you looked at CJ Carr in that game, did you see a quarterback that like, okay, this is a guy who's definitely going to take a big jump from game 1 to game 2? I know they had a bye in between, but game 1 to game 2, man, absolutely not is what I saw. This is a redshirt freshman quarterback who, honestly, if they have a veteran quarterback worth a damn on the team, he probably wouldn't be starting. That's what he looked like to me. He looked like a guy that still needs, that's not ready to start until maybe he's a redshirt sophomore. Maybe he improves as the year goes on, but I didn't see that. Again, it's only week 1. Texas A&M has a good defense, in my opinion. They got a better defense than Miami. Cassius Howe can bend on the edge just like Ruben Bain and those guys came from Miami. So I don't see anything changing as far as Notre Dame having time to throw the football if these offensive tackles can't hold up. And I don't think they can hold up. And Texas A&M, they're good on the back end. They're good at linebacker. Go ahead and give me the Aggies with the +6.5. I think Texas A&M might go into South Bend and win this game. I'm not sure about that. But Mike Elko doesn't strike me as a coach that's going to lose that game 23-13 last season and then come into this game this year and have no idea what he's doing or how to prepare for this game. So give me the Aggies with the +6.5. All right, moving on to second game is going to be Clemson, Georgia Tech. Clemson came into this game as a 3-point favorite. Wanted to show the line movement here. It opened at 4. It has dropped 3. Steadily dropped to 3. Went down to 3.5. And then now I'm seeing 3s pretty much all across the board. In this game, you look at, I think one of the reasons is because they look at Clemson's offense and they're saying, man, there's issues with them offensively. They lose to LSU in the opener. Everybody had, besides me, everybody had Cade Klubnik in the Heisman as the Heisman winner, and he's this and he's that. Those are guys looking at box scores. They're not watching Cade Klubnik play. I try to tell anybody listening, he has accuracy issues when he's throwing the ball down the field. He just does. And you saw it against LSU. Against Troy, these guys are down. That's a letdown game to me. They're down, 16-3. They come back and win 27-16. But the fact remains, there's some passing issues with Clemson, whether it be Cade Klubnik, whether it be the wide receivers. TJ Moore only has 5 catches this season off of 13 targets. If you look at his man coverage metrics, he's not getting open against man coverage, whether he's not getting separation or Cade Klubnik's not getting him a good ball. Another thing I want to note is the running game for Clemson. I talked about this in the LSU video. They don't have a running back. If you have Adam Randall he's a wide receiver in the spring. You're looking at your running backs. You keep Adam Randall at receiver. And then you change in the summer. I'm thinking in the spring, you're like, let me give these running backs a chance to see if they show me something. You get to the fall, and you're like, hey, Adam Randall, convert to running back, and you're RB1. That tells me you don't have a good running game. You don't have a good running back room. Against LSU, Adam Randall, 16 yards. He's never been an explosive player. He's not about to be that at running back. Against Troy, 112, short thing. But that's against Troy. Against P4 teams, it's probably going to look a little different with the running game. So that's why I note here Cade Klubnik, -3 yards rushing this season. Cade Klubnik is a dual threat. He has legs. That's the best part of his offense, in my opinion. If he's not getting loose, you're not getting running game because Adam Randall is not going to provide you some dynamic spark from the running back position. So Clemson needs Cade Klubnik, I believe, to get off in this game. Georgia Tech, defensively, they have an issue stopping the run. They allowed 146 yards in the opener to Colorado. Then they allowed 153 yards to Gardner Webb. That's removing sacks. They sacked him 6 times. Take that out. True running, they allowed 153. So there's some issues with Georgia Tech. So what's going to give? Clemson, are they going to be able to run the ball? Or Georgia Tech, are they going to be able to stop the run? And then looking at the other side of the matchup, Clemson's defense versus Georgia Tech's offense. Whoops. You say Clemson's defense, so they have NFL players at every level, right? They bring in Tom Allen from Penn State, new defensive coordinator. He's a big step up. But so far, the early returns on the scoreboard, they look good. 17 gave up to Clemson, 16 they gave to Troy. That's good. But then when you dive in, the starting running back for the opposing teams, 4.6 yards per carry. You got to take out sacks sometimes. Clemson, they get sacks, and that makes their rush defense numbers look better. But the starting running back for LSU, Caden Durham, and for Troy, averaging at 4.6 yards per carry. Pass defense, YPA, 6.7. That's not bad, but you expect to see better with NFL guys on the back end. Ashton Hampton, Avion Terrell. You got to see better than that on the back end. So they're going to get right. Georgia Tech offensively, Haynes King comes back this week. He missed last week. He's healthy. Always seems to have some issue. But he's back this week. This is a running team, though. 320 yards rushing in the opener. 156 of that was from Haynes King. So that dual threat ability obviously is there with him. 223 against Gardner Webb. Jamal Haynes and Malachi Holsley have combined for 307 yards and 7.7 yards per carry. So they got an explosive run attack with those two and the QB. So ultimately, how do I think this game's going to play out? It seems like the public was on taking Georgia Tech with a +4. Maybe some people believe Georgia Tech could pull off this upset. They have what looks to be an elite running game against a Clemson team that looks to have some kind of questions. But I don't see that going down like that. I think Clemson's defense probably just takes some time for adjustment to the new defense coordinator with game reps. I think they are legit. I think the dudes up front are legit. I think at linebacker they're legit. I think on the back end they're legit. Georgia Tech is going to have a hard time moving the ball. I know Jamal Haynes is a really good running back, but he has not been as good this season as he was last year early on. I think Clemson can slow down the running game. And I think Georgia Tech had trouble with Caden Salter's mobility at quarterback for Colorado. This is a game I think Cade Klubnik can hit some big-time runs, scrambling out the backfield, broken plays, whatever you may have. But Cade Klubnik, I think, can get off on the ground in this one and completely open up this offense. So go ahead and give me Clemson. I'm going to lay the 3. So anyways, that wraps it up. 2 games. I'll have a few other videos. So ultimately, I'm going to end up doing 5 games total for week 3. But I will have a couple other videos for those games. So stay tuned for that. If you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe, all of that. So that way you don't miss those other videos. Take care.